call the regular Board of Education meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kelly, please do roll call.
Mrs. Lynn? Present. Stewart? Here. Capson? Here. Mr. Rutkowski?
Here.
Mr. Singh?
Here.
Mr. Wolf?
Present.
Mr. Zopp?
Excused.
Gadsden?
Delayed.
Mr. White?
Present. Fire exits, Matt?
The exits are in the back of the LGI.
All right, and tonight we have two workshops. The first workshop is going to be about the Beacon Youth Police Academy.
Hi everyone. My name is Christine Galvo. I'm a community volunteer. My husband and I have organized the Beacon Youth Police Academy for the last 3 summers. We're here to proudly announce our 4th summer of the Police Academy. Some of you may remember us visiting in September and sharing the program with you and having some students speak. This year's academy is again being run in conjunction with the City of Beacon, the Rec Department, the Beacon Police Department, the PDA, as well as the school district. We met with Dr. Landau last week to talk to him about requesting building usage and some other things. We've been in touch with Mr. Giametta, who's going to be working with us on some obstacle courses and new things this summer. We are reaching out to community groups. We're trying to seek students who may benefit from this program. So if any of you know anyone who might be interested, we do have flyers available. I'll send them via email. We also have a Facebook page and Instagram page where you can get more information. All the applications are online. We will be at the career fair. We're also running a fire academy through the Beacon Fire Department. That will take place the following week. Our academy will be July 16th through 20th. So I've said all of the uninteresting things. We've invited one participant who's been in our program for the last, this will be her 3rd summer. We're very proud of her. She's a Fishkill Police Cadet and will also be traveling to Washington, D.C. this summer to participate in some training. So she's going to share some of her thoughts with you briefly before we close.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Isabella Nocerino, and I am a sophomore at Beacon High School. This will be my 3rd year participating in the Beacon Youth Police Academy, and I am very excited to see what we are doing this summer. Over the past 2 summers, the Beacon Youth Police Academy has provided insight to those wanting to learn more about the careers in and around law enforcement. The Academy has introduced us to incredible places such as the Office of Emergency Management in NYC, the New York Police Academy, and the New York State Trooper Academy, and both Beacon and Dutchess County courthouses, the Fishkill Correctional Facility, and my favorite, the Paladin Training Center. This program has allowed me to experience the real-world aspects of criminal justice system and different career choices it has to offer. The Beacon Youth Police Academy has exposed me to the court system, the prison system, law enforcement, and everything in between. It has taught me the value of community service as well as the pride of accomplishment. And what I have learned over the past 2 summers will stay with me for the rest of my life, whether I am in law enforcement or not. Integrity, honesty, pride, and honor are all valuable qualities to possess regardless of career. Thank you.
Great job.
So again, we just wanted to thank Dr. Landau for being supportive. He's sharing some information about the program, and we would ask if any members of the board are familiar with any students that they think would be interested. You can reach out to me via email. You can check us out on Facebook, and Dr. Landau has some other information. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you. All right, so I'm just going to go to the podium first, and I want to give a little background as to our next workshop and how it came about, and then I have some videos and some other things. So last year, the board received an email notifying us that April was designated as Military Family Month. Before that, we didn't know. So last year, what we did was we didn't have much time, so we decided that we would all wear purple to show it, because purple was designated as the color for the military children and families. So it was a very small gesture last year, and we all wore purple. As you can see, we're all wearing purple. We have the military hats here and stuff. So what I wanted to do tonight is to try and expand it and show our appreciation and thank you, because we always recognize the people that are serving, but we tend to forget about the families that are at home and may be struggling with not having their little ones here. So before I get started into showing a little clip, and I'm going to have Mr. Wolf read a passage as to why it's being a recognized month, I just wanted to get someone on the phone for a family here. So hold on 1 second. Oh, Mike, what'd I do? Never mind. All right, I got it. Yep.
Hello?
Hello, Mary Beth?
Yes, hi.
Can you see us? Can you hear us? So that was your little one saying hello. And so what we wanted to do is we were just going to show a little video, Mary Beth, so you're not going to be seen, but you'll still be online. And then I'm going to have someone read a passage, and then we'll come back to you, okay?
Great, thanks.
Did you guys want to say hi to Mom real quick?
Hi, Hester. Hi, Mal. Hi, Grace. Hi, Mom.
All right, hold on 1 second. All right, so this is a video that I came across that I thought gave a really good description as to why the month is special and why it should be celebrated. So as you can see, I took that from Arkansas Education Department. All right, and Craig, would you mind reading the description for us?
Certainly. And I think I might like to follow with a couple of observations. This is from the Military Child Education Coalition. April is the month of the military child, a time to recognize and appreciate military children for their service and sacrifice. Military children live with ongoing challenges presented by frequent moves, family separations, and life transitions. They move 6 to 9 times during their K through 12 years. In their own way, military-connected children serve too. As a demographic, military-connected children number almost 4 million, 75% of whom are school age. Almost every school district in America includes military-connected children and youth whose parents serve or served in the active, guard, and reserve components of the armed forces. Over 80% of these students attend U.S. public schools, while less than 8% attend Department of Defense schools. The Military Child Education Coalition works to address the needs of military-connected children through programs, services, and resources designed to enlighten and empower parents, educators, and other supportive adults, and the students themselves. After more than a decade of war, the well-being of all military-connected children and youth depends on a strong, consistent network of supportive adults. Parents, teachers, mentors, and role models play a pivotal role in the life of a military child. You can make a difference in the life of a military child by seeking opportunities to acknowledge their sacrifice, volunteering for organizations that support them, and recognizing their contribution to the nation. The Military Child Education Coalition invites everyone to wear purple on Friday, April 13th as a visible gesture of support for military kids and to financially support MCEC in our endeavors to ensure military-connected students overcome challenges to become college, workforce, and life-ready. The Military Child Education Coalition serves the children of those who serve us all and encourages efforts that strengthen our military children and ensure opportunities for their quality education. MCEC is a 501c3 global nonprofit organization focused exclusively on the well-being and needs of America's approximately 4 million military-connected children, specifically in the areas of academic opportunity and excellence, school transition support, and developmental needs. Our goal is to ensure that every military-connected child grows and thrives through good and challenging times in order to be college, workforce, and ultimately life-ready. Of course, they have a website, militarychild.org. I would add that we do have in our community significant military presence in the Mid-Hudson, maybe not as much as some of the big bases that exist in other places, but we cannot forget the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, nor the large detachment of people who are based at Stewart Field, as they used to call it in the old days. And there's hundreds of those full-time or part-time. And then there's others who are in smaller units that are not quite as visible as those. So we do have a significant military presence in our area. And so it's good to take the opportunity to recognize that today.
Thank you, Craig. Very well done. Does any other board members have anything that they wanted to add?
Well, I'll just say that I think there's an excellent opportunity for the kids to to hear that they're appreciated and recognized, as well as as well as the service member. I've heard that. She actually went to school with my wife at this point.
Anthony, did you?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the families. I mean, it goes without saying to thank the military personnel, but also to thank the families for their sacrifice in this situation.
And part of this was to bring awareness to other people that April is a month to recognize the families of people that are serving, and we do appreciate all that you guys do and to serve the nation. And you may not be enlisted, but you are enlisted because your significant other is enlisted, or mom or dad. Did anybody have anything that they wanted to say that are here as a guest, that are here? And we have cake. We want to make sure that we feed you and give you something to say thank you for coming out tonight, and thank you for all that you do. Mary Beth, did you want to add anything?
Actually, I'm going to let my mom, she raised her hand. I know my place.
Yeah. I just want to say thank you to all of you for this recognition for the children. I know it took place last year also, and it meant a lot to them, especially when Meredith was farther away than she is right now. Mm-hmm. So thanks again to all of you for this.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I would like to say something.
Sure.
Since I'm here, and I figured out how to with Beacon City Schools. Just to, I reiterate that, that the service members, we get recognized in a lot of venues nowadays, especially in today's world. But when we leave our spouses and our children home, that's not always so observed. And I think the strength is oh, can you hear me?
Yep, we're good.
Yep. Oh. Yes, I think the strength that I know my 3 children and other children of military folks have to show on a day-to-day basis to fill that void just with normal activity. I think that they couldn't be proud. And I also want to say that I think Beacon City Schools has been so supportive of my absence. I mean, I've been gone since October 2016. And, the teachers, the administrators, now the school board, you guys have just been, I just so appreciate everything you've done for the kids to keep them engaged and to keep school fun and, keep that a big distraction for our families. So thank you. And thanks for doing this tonight.
No problem. Thank you. Did you guys want to say anything else to Mom? No, they're shaking their head no. All right, Mary Beth, thank you so much for making yourself available.
All right, thank you. Thanks, everybody. Good seeing you.
All right, bye-bye.
See you home soon, hopefully.
All right, well, we welcome you. We do have a cake and some refreshments outside, and we're going to take a little break, and we'll go have some cake with you guys and stuff, and, just get to catch up and see who you are and stuff. So thank you. Conversation out, and while we're having cake, I'm going to pronounce your name wrong. Is it Alana? Eliana. Made us aware that she wrote a poem, and why don't you come up to the mic, and she memorized it, and it's about her.
It's about veterans.
Hello, my name is Aliana Aviai, and I have 2 brothers in the military, and I wrote this poem to honor the military and all the veterans. Today we celebrate Veterans Day to honor the military in every way. They fought hard and long, they didn't give up, they were brave and strong. 2 brothers I have who serve our country, work hard as they fight for our rights. These veterans traveled miles for us to keep America safe. They are the few, the proud, and the great. We honor those who fight for our flag, who have been through good times and bad. We are grateful for them because they fought till the end. They risked their lives for our country, and they deserve to be free. We celebrate today to honor those who fought and who fight to keep us safe and for our rights. And thank you for your service.
Great job.
Wow.
Thank you very much for sharing. All right, I need a motion to go to executive session to review the employment history of particular individuals, to review collective bargaining with the Beacon Paraprofessionals Association, and seek legal advice from the school attorney.
Motion.
Georgia, is it a second?
Second.
Meredith, comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 7-0. The board is expected to return in about a half hour. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. We do appreciate it. All right, well, looking at the agenda, we do have one correction. It is on the consent agenda. It's 12.03D2. It is a date correction. It was 4/28/18 and it should be 4/25/18. Besides that, did anybody see any other corrections on the agenda? Seeing none, we're going to move to student or school presentations. Seeing none, we're going to go to parent groups. Seeing none, we're going to go to open to the public, and we have Mr. Boggs signed up.
Thank you. Good evening. Before I use up my 3 minutes, I'd like to call...
4 now.
4.
Oh, it's 4. At any rate, before I use them, I'd like to call to your attention 2 things. One, I've been looking at the policy manual to see how much time I had, and I noted that it says that it's in section 1230 of the policy manual. However, when you go to the policy manual, that is about finance or whatever. Secondly, it says that there's a sheet up here that explains that policy, and that sheet is not up here too.
It was in the binder. It was in the binder where you signed up.
It's not in the binder. I looked through the binder, not unless I missed it.
You are correct. It wasn't in there tonight.
Huh?
You are correct. It wasn't in there
Yeah.
tonight.
Okay. Now, about 4 minutes. I'm sure that you probably all know that I have for some time been concerned about the lack of diversity or the state of diversification in the Beacon City School District, and brought that to the board's attention back in 2010, at the time when there were 266 instructors and only 4 of them were minorities. In the school system that had a 55% minority population. I brought that to their attention, and the board acknowledged such and said that they would make a special effort to try and address this particular issue to diversify. However, it wasn't until 2016 and 17 school year that this board established a policy on diversification, and secondly, established a committee, diversity committee, whose I understand in part their responsibility was to assist in the increase in the diversity of the staff. Several weeks ago, I went to a diversity committee meeting and sat in, and while I wasn't able to get any numbers, I did see a pie chart that gave some percentages, which to me seemed very much like some of the same data I had seen 10 years ago. So having said that, I'd like to tonight just ask, if I possibly could, anybody willing to answer this question. I have 3 questions. Can anyone tell me what is the total number of instructional personnel and how many of them are minorities? Number 2, how many minority instructors have been hired since the 2016-2017 Diversity Committee was established and the establishment of the Board of Education goal on diversity? And lastly, I'd like to ask, if nothing else, does there currently exist in any format a plan to diversify this staff, and does it contain a specific goal and or time frame for accomplishment, and does it contain a method for evaluating the progress of that goal? Those are the 3 questions I'd like to have answered, if possible, for myself as well as the rest of the public. Lastly, I'd like to bring 2 things to the board's attention. One is, on Sundays, there's a group that uses the athletic field over here, the Beacon High School soccer field. I assume that they have the board's permission or the school's permission to use it. However, on several occasions now, I've noted that this group drives their trucks all over the fields. They park their cars, drive up the sidewalks, and so forth, and just right over all of the baseball, soccer fields and stuff. So I just wanted to bring that to your
20
attention.
seconds.
I'm sorry?
20 seconds. 20 seconds.
20 seconds.
20 seconds before your time's up.
Okay. Lastly, I'd like to bring and ask the board, remind you, I live on Mattawan Road, and on 3 occasions now I've seen near head-on collisions on the portion of Mattawan Road that is controlled by the Department of Corrections. One of them was almost a head-on collision with a
That's
school
time,
bus.
Mr. Bugs.
Sorry?
That's time.
Okay.
Do you have it in writing that you want to submit so we could look further at it?
Well,
We got it.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, was there something, just the last part was just about the school bus, right? Just did you finish what you were saying about the school bus?
Excuse me?
Yeah. I just didn't.
Yeah. Anybody else, public comment? All right, seeing none, we're going to go to superintendent's report.
All right, just a couple of updates. One is where we are with the principal searches. We are in the middle of the search process for the Beacon High School principal and the principal of Forest Hill Elementary. We just had the parent meeting with Beacon High School parents this evening before the board meeting. We had the Forest Hill parent meeting last week. We had staff meetings with both buildings. We also put a survey out. The survey can be answered by students, parent, community members, or teachers and staff. We've had, with both the surveys combined, about 120 respondents, so we're going to push that over the next few days to up that number. For both positions, each position we have over 50 applicants. I with my team, I'm personally reviewing each of these applicants and doing a screening interview with probably about 60 to 70% of the applicants, just to look for things like background, whether they're a serious candidate or not, and also diversity of the candidate pool. The candidate pool for both principal positions is a very diverse pool. We're excited about that. We hope to sort of create a group of about 6 to 8 folks who will go in front of a stakeholder interview process, and then the final interviews will be with me with recommendation to the board towards the end of May. Speaking of hiring, I don't have the information I can quickly access that Mr. Bug asked for. We will bring that to the next meeting. But in terms of teacher hiring, we have some positions posted already. We have the teacher class size reduction postings at the elementary level. So we posted for elementary openings. I think we had over 500 applicants.
530.
530 applicants. Instead of filtering like we've done in the past, or instead of trying to sort of make the job easier, Celia Dansora-Rumley headed up a long, multi-hour meeting with all of our elementary principals to look at every single candidate in that pool of 530. We're looking for the same things, like their background, their experiences, but also we're looking at the diversity of the pool. I think some of the mistakes that have been made in the past, it's maybe easy for me to say because I wasn't here, but that we tried to filter the pools, or we tried to make the pools smaller before we actually really started looking at the candidates. So we have taken the tack of looking at every single candidate for one of these leadership positions and these teacher positions pretty much with a fine-tooth comb, looking for the best folks, obviously, for each position, but also really looking at it through a diversity lens as well. We're pleased with the diversity of the pool for elementary candidates as well. So those are just some initial steps we're taking to move that board goal along. We have a long way to go, both with the monitoring of it, with having the statistics readily available, setting specific goals, but we're putting some actions in place that we think will increase the diversity of our workforce. A couple other things one other thing I wanted to update folks on is we received a safety audit from Alteris Consulting 10 days ago. So we are very busily reviewing it. We established kind of a working group of a few district office folks, a senior security monitor, and a building principal, where we're going through that audit very closely and trying to come up with an action. What's great about the audit, Beacon did well in the audit. There was very few immediate action steps. The few that were offered, we're already starting to address. And moving forward, there's some sort of bigger type projects that we will engage the board with. I'll discuss with Anthony White when we'll do a presentation about the audit or what we can do in public. It is a little difficult to talk about the audit in a public session because a lot of it, or most of it, is really for a closed session meeting. But that being said, I wanted to assure the public that we are moving on it, we have reviewed it, and we have what I think will help move us forward, a working team that's meeting on a weekly basis to go through the audit and start making action steps, things we can do immediately, things we can do over the summer, and then things we can start planning for over the next few years. So some of that will be discussed at the board facilities meeting later in May, but we're moving really quickly forward on that, and we're excited. I wanted to add one thing about the principal search, because this came out of, we already had it planned, but we talked about it a fair amount in the parent meeting. We will have student involvement for the Beacon High School search. We actually have student involvement for the Forrestal search as well. We have students filling out the survey at both the Forrestal level and the high school level. We've asked the high school teachers to try to push the survey out more to the high school students over the next few days so they can fill it out as well. It's a really easy survey, so people can fill it out rather easily. And we will, at the stakeholder level for the principal search, we will have to parents or community members, and at the high school level, we will have a student on the stakeholder group as well. So we're excited to have that student involvement in the search process. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Committee reports, including board comments. Mike? Okay, so for the Facilities and Operations Committee, actually Craig is going to report on the April 18th meeting when he gets to his turn, so was not able to make it this time. The next meeting is scheduled for May 21st at 7 p.m. right at the administrative offices. We've been continuing to visit different schools, looking at different turf fields. I think the next one is going to be Pauling, right, on May 3rd. So that's good. You can really see the differences between
Trinity Pauling.
Trinity Pauling. Okay, thank you.
Just different, the district and then the school.
Okay, Trinity Pauling. Got it. May 3rd. And so it is very helpful. Let me see what else. I appreciate the comment, feedback about recognizing driving on the soccer field. That'd be something that we want to make sure we talk about in the facilities meeting. Maintaining our grounds.
Well, we've already emailed some of the folks involved, and if I have a chance, I'll follow up with Mr. Buck about the second safety thing you brought up too.
Okay, very good. Let's see, and that's about all for me.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Craig?
Yeah, facilities and operations, we did have considerable discussion about how we're doing on examining the turf options and how one goes about the process of soliciting further input from the providers of those facilities. And we've also talked in general about the coming capital program, where some of our school leaders are getting more into specifics, working with the architects, going to the next level of detailed evaluation and more fine-tuning of what they actually would like to see in those rooms, which is a good thing, because these are the folks that are closest to having their feet on the ground in those details. We've also begun to have discussions about the implications of security. And as Dr. Landau said, we'll talk further about that in May when we get a little bit more information out of the reading of the survey report from Alteris. We don't know to what extent that would have impact on the current program, but we think it'd be good to take a look and see whether it may. So the turf visits, unfortunately, I wasn't able to go on any of those, but I expect to be able to go on the next one at least. I think these site visits have produced some pretty good information. I think Anthony White was able to go to all of them, actually, so he may wish to comment on his observations. And Mr. D'Amato also has some insights from these visits. It is good to do a visit and see what these things look like and talk to the people who maintain them. Maintenance and what you do after you own it is also an issue to be understood before you get in. So I'll leave it at that. I wanted to say that one of the unsung heroes, actually, after the wonderful performance of Jesus Christ Superstar by Beacon Players, really should be Dr. Sieverding. I remember interviewing him 5 or 6 years ago, and that was just when he had arranged for Anthony Scarone to come in as the theater director, and he said, "I'm very encouraged and optimistic about Beacon Players." Well, those are very prescient words because we've seen tremendous progress in that area, and I think Doc Sieverding deserves some credit for supporting and making the administrative circumstances that are necessary for a program to grow and thrive. I'm concerned about what I'm seeing from our friends in Albany with something called school-level financial reporting. And I don't know exactly the extent to which this is going to affect us, but I'm sure that we need it like a hole in the head. I don't think it's going to produce useful information. I'll wait and see the details of it. But when you get down to a per student cost per school, I think you're dealing with funky statistics that will tell you nothing but confusion and misdirection. That's my prediction. So, thank you.
Thank you. Noah, any?
Well, first I just want to congratulate the Beacon Players, as the show was great. I was there all 3 nights, and every night the show went on really well. As far as the student body goes, I know Annie and I are experiencing a lot more students being open and talking to us about the changes they want to see and what they like and don't like about the school. So we're working a lot more with students and different groups of students, student council, NHS, all the different groups, in working with them and trying to formulate their different ideas. So we should have more opinion on students as more meetings come along. And I also want to say the principal search, students are starting to realize that the survey is getting out there. So hopefully more students start responding to that. And then all the spring sports this year have really kicked off great. I know Beacon Athletics have had a great run at the track team, won by over 100 points on Monday against Peekskill. And baseball is doing really well, clubs are doing really well. And so it's a good time right now. And finally, good luck to all the students. We have AP testing coming up this May. So me and Annie are working hard on that, so that should be fun. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just going to say something about last Friday. There was a walkout. Most of the students that I know of that went to the gathering in Memorial Park, they were signed out by their parents. So everything, no problems with the school for the most part. So they went there and they all had a very good time. There were a lot of programs for them to really voice their opinions and just talk about how they feel about things going on. So to the adults that set that up, that was very well done. I think it's important for students to have a place to be able to express what they're feeling, and I think they did that there. And yeah, that's basically it.
All right, thank you very much. Meredith?
Last week was the curriculum committee, and we went over some new programming, kind of reprogramming the PE courses at the high school so that students are not taking the same thing 2 years in a row, because I guess it was sort of this repeated 9th, 10th, 10th, 11th curriculum. And so it sounds like Mr. Giametta is doing a great job of rethinking that so the kids are more engaged in it and also dealing with some of the issues that students are facing that are putting them in a position to not do well in PE. So that was exciting. And also we went over an assessment tool that the PPS department is looking to use, and talked about how it would fit in with the existing curriculum. And it was a really good conversation. Our next meeting is on May 16th.
May 16th.
Yeah, 2:30. And good luck, guys, on your AP exams. And Annie, thank you for the walkout report. It's, news travels in Beacon fast, and it's been mostly positive, but it's great to hear, what students are actually saying about it. Thank you.
Kristen?
I don't have anything to report for wellness. I know we're trying to schedule probably one more meeting before the end of the year. Did you have?
May 2nd.
May 2nd.
Oh, it's May 2nd.
So May 2nd, wellness. I don't think we'll be discussing the policy. We'll probably be thinking about goals for next year and how we'll utilize the committee.
We will discuss the policy.
We will?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We'll have it pretty much ready.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, good. That's good.
I just put the pressure on everybody.
Yeah.
Just saying
Sorry, I wasn't saying it as like a fait accompli.
No.
I recognize we're all busy. I just, yeah. Okay, well that's great. Then I'll look forward to that. That's pretty much it. I don't have anything else to report. I attended as an individual the gathering at Memorial Park you know, you can't totally separate yourself from this role. I wanted to make sure our kids were okay and everything was okay. It was interesting to observe, and I give Beacon a lot of credit because I think not only was there something organized by community members, but it did seem like the kids who came felt comfortable coming. There were groups from other districts that seemed a little bit more concerned about punitive actions, and we're looking for kind of a softer place to land. So I think that in a difficult sort of time and somewhat challenging situation, a lot of things coalesced well with Beacon, both on how it was handled internally and then what community members did. So that's it. Thanks.
Great. Anthony? Good evening. I went to the 2 o'clock show on Sunday for the play, and it was great. You know, I think the Beacon players really outdid themselves with every play, and you know, suspending one of the actors in the middle of the air was pretty cool. The diversity committee hasn't met yet since the last board meeting, so nothing to report on that. Our next meeting is May 9th, 8:15. I don't know what's going on with the technology committee. I think we're changing things, I guess.
Yeah, we'll figure out our next step. Our main goal right now is hiring a new director of technology.
Yeah.
So.
You know, with Frank Scartella's passing, that's the office I was working on, trying to move the smartphone forward. So I have to figure out where else I can get some help on that. That's pretty much it. I can stop there.
Oh, thank you.
Can I add something to the Frank thing? Just I have some information about his office will be closing in June. So you can reach out to them before if there's some unfinished business, and then there'll be, you know, then there'll be an election in November, and we'll have representation again then. So it's something to think about, reaching out to a candidate about, but also see if his office has any updates for you.
Oh, that reminds me. Are we gonna, not that we as a board, but is there gonna be a meet the candidates night? I guess like this year we have more candidates than seats.
A representative from the PTO Collaborative reached out to me wanting to reserve a space at the high school for May 8th. So we went ahead and reserved the space for May 8th. I don't know where it stands right now. You know, as the school district officially can't run the Meet the Candidate event, so that we will help out with space and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure where it's going from there. I'll look back into it tomorrow and see if they still want to do May 8th.
Thank you. Georgia?
I also want to, I also attended the Beacon Players, and I've seen the progression through the years, and they do get better and better, and it was just an amazing performance. I want to thank you, Anthony, for having us do this military recognition this evening. It was great. It was very heartwarming and touching, and it was great seeing the families here. So thank you for bringing that to us to do. I was not able at the last minute to attend the policy committee meeting, so I believe Kim is going to mention that as well. And I think our next meeting may be moved after facilities on May 21st. So at 8:15, there will be a change. And that's it.
Thank you. So I left my notes for policy in my car. Good old Russian. So there were 2 policies that we reviewed, and the revisions that were made, the committee felt that those changes were appropriate, and they were not in need of any changes. So it's policy, first read of 6700 under purchasing, and it was 2.
Volunteer ones, they're not going to
Oh, okay. So volunteers still being revised, I guess, what?
We wanted some language change, so we were doing that, and then it'll be on the next.
Okay, so the first read for 6700 is here. We did have a parent that came to the meeting, expressed some concerns, but it was concerns in the area that we've been currently working on with, PE and getting out in weather, inclement weather, and what that looks like. And so we expressed to her where we were with trying to make sure that we are unified across the board. And we encouraged her to share the information and concerns that she had with Dr. Landau so that it could all be considered. Safety men, I believe I gave that report already, I'm not sure. If I didn't, the safety committee did meet and it was a very productive meeting. Pretty much we reviewed the review of all the plans and systems that are in place, and so pretty much we are moving along very smoothly. So we're in compliance in a lot of places. The little tweaks that we needed to do, those were actually done. Everything that appeared to be a priority on the in the assessment is being addressed or will be addressed. So we're comfortable with that. I left my notes home in the car pretty much. So I don't remember when the next safety meeting is.
It was 4 weeks after that one, so
it was in May.
It's a Wednesday in May.
So May 18th.
Probably May 16th, 9 o'clock.
Okay.
Yep.
So we'll have that. Public relations is scheduled to meet May 9th, and I think we're going to be reviewing the findings in the surveys, or just what to say from those from that survey finding. Pretty much everything else is there that the committee set out to achieve. Getting information out to the families, having it come from the district, places where you can find it that come from the district website, trying to ensure that the district website is user-friendly. So those are all work in progress, but those things do exist now where they did not exist before. I just wanted to say I apologize for missing the military salute, but I did get to see everyone out there in front of the school building. It's just good to support those that are pretty much ensuring our safety as we sit at home while they give up being with their families. So that is important. The walkout, I want to say, I appreciated just the things that the students said in the slides that we received. It gave them a voice, and it allowed them to, express, how they feel, and the freedom to actually do that. We didn't have to promote, leaving school, and we didn't have to tell them that they were going to be penalized if they did. And so that was a good feeling. I think it just allows the students to be much more expressive and hopefully open to us so that we can try to provide more situations like that. And I think that's it. My other stuff will be another day.
All right, I have no board comments. All right, so we have no unfinished business, so we're going to move on to the BOCES budget and candidates. So I just wanted to share.
So I had asked at the last meeting, I had asked about a workshop on Naviance, and I think they said that was going to happen, but I didn't see it anywhere. So is that something that can happen, or it's not going to happen, or what's going to happen?
I'm sorry, we're not prepared to do it tonight, but we will do that workshop at the next meeting where we're able to do a workshop. I apologize about that.
All right, so for the BOCES budget and candidacy, Mr. Zoff emailed me and wanted to share, when he was not going to be here, he wanted me to share that if a question comes up as to who to vote for on the BOCES Board of Election, all three candidates are very good and have been actively involved in public education for many years. I would recommend Richard Keller Coffey as one of the votes. I've known him for a few years in our joint service on the Dutchess County School Boards Association. He's currently serving as president of the Dutchess County School Board Association and has done a great job. So I just wanted to share that with you for the purpose of knowing. All right, so I need a motion to approve 11.01 The BOCES administrative budget for 18-19 school year.
Second.
Georgia, second by Kristen. Comments or questions?
Here are some questions on this. So we're talking about the budget, the total budget that they're requesting approval on is $4,565,785, which is actually divided amongst all the component districts. We hadn't received any, I don't know what the basis of it is, and we haven't received a presentation. I know Emery did send out, I guess, a PowerPoint that was, I guess, a recent PowerPoint.
From Saturday the 14th, which we were invited to go to for the presentation.
Right. So I read through the PowerPoint. There's conflicting information whether the numbers that they present within the presentation disagree. Actually, I looked again, Emery, within the presentation itself. One calculation would be the total as stated of $4,565,000. The other calculation would be $4,198,000. So I'm not sure that this conflicts with the number in this request. So I'm not really sure how to resolve that. But like I said, within their own presentation, they do conflict, and it seems to have to do with the there's a revenue offset on the administration portion of $67,000 that they show in their billings to district, but they do not include it in their administrative budget proposal slide. So I don't know what what that $365,000 is. It's basically between slide 7 and slide 14 on that presentation. On slide 7, they show administrative budget.
Right, are you looking for an answer right now? Because I don't know if that's going to be feasible for Emery to answer that part. And I think that at the last board meeting, I did express that if we had questions about it, that someone should attend the presentation, the annual presentation that they had on the 14th, because it's more questions for them, and they're not here to answer that piece.
Then how can we vote on something that we have questions on, and that their information is conflicting, and they can't give us the information?
So I think part of it is that with BOCES, so you do FSRs as to what you may budget for them, and then there's the actual. And Anne Marie, if you budget too much for them, don't they?
They return it.
They return it to the district. So it's not like if it's budgeted too much that you don't get it back. They do return funds back to the district if it's budgeted too high, because they can't have a surplus.
I think so. I mean, in that case, would you feel comfortable voting on it and asking for clarification of what you're seeing in the presentation? I didn't catch that when I was reading.
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, they have come and given us presentations in the past about the budget, and they didn't decide not to do that this time. So
I think last year was a capital project presentation. I went back and looked at what I had. I think that's why they came and visited. It was a special capital vote for improvements. That's why Dr. Hooley came.
But he did discuss the administrative piece. It's always, an interesting thing because there's such a high portion of it.
And I think what they did this year was to have it all at one location so they could present to anybody that would want to come at that time. And they did get ample notice for it.
Well, agreed. But I mean, if there's a discrepancy, I'm still not sure. If I'm voting on $4,570,000, whatever it was, $565,000.
Right, but I think that the piece is that they can't have a surplus, so if it's over budgeted, they return it back to the district.
I think he's saying that's the discrepancy. If someone doesn't feel comfortable voting, can they abstain?
They can abstain from it.
I do think that I actually enjoyed having Dr. Hooley here last year and sort of expecting him to come and then realize that he wasn't. And I think it would be worth making a request to, we are volunteers. We can't always make all of the meetings, and to have actually like a video recording of that presentation, I think would have been really helpful, because the slides don't say everything. Just as a more general comment. So, and I'm happy to write to him.
If someone requested it, I would have definitely made the recommendation for it.
Yeah, I didn't really put it all together until I was looking at the slide presentation.
Right.
And
it felt like an open house to go and see. And you did say the budget was there, but it did it was a little bit like.
Well, I would have loved to go, but I mean, I couldn't. I think there's other people on the board that they just couldn't go. So we do have to vote on it, and I think that it is sort of their responsibility to get us the information. And if we can't make the meeting, you know, this isn't necessarily an ideal amount of information. I will say that.
Right, I mean, they didn't even send us, they didn't even send us the presentation. You know, obviously they gave us the invite to come to the, to the central location, but. So.
This isn't, for me, this is more of a general, like, how are we going to communicate with them so that we can, you know, really understand what we're voting on.
Yeah, I went back and I looked through I have the presentation, like I said, from last year, where he does more of sort of a general explanation of the benefits of the BOCES. He provided us with beacon numbers last year, kind of tailored the presentation. So I used that more as a guide. I did appreciate you asking for more information, but I feel like I always think of it in terms of this is also a cost-sharing thing, and that we do benefit from it financially as well. So.
Yeah.
I'm glad to support it.
Yeah, I mean, I could find 3 of the 4 numbers that are on the slide 7 of the 2019 proposed. I can't find that total anywhere, but those three numbers that add up to that total is on slide 14. They're just in different places, so it may be just a nuance of how the information is being delivered, and that would come through with a slide, that would come through with somebody talking about it.
Yeah.
But the three numbers that 4 million total comes from is in both slide 7 and 14. But that's not going to make me an informed voting decision. I'm just going to say, okay, the numbers match.
Well,
So I mean, at some point, there's a certain amount of faith. That's just supposed to see that they're crunching these numbers.
Yeah, I assume they're held to the same standard we are. So I don't think that this is. We have reporting standards that we're supposed to follow. I think that.
Right. I mean, I guess I'm mentioning this more as an aside of like the last year. You know, it happened a certain way. I felt like I had a clearer understanding of it, which is important to me. I trust the numbers. You know, I trust that we can clarify the what's going on here. I'm just saying, like in the future, I think it would be nice to say.
Yeah.
And I'll try next year to go to the thing, but if I can't.
Well, yeah, I don't remember. I know last year they came because it was a capital thing. So Anthony, historically, have they come and presented?
Only if we ask them to.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, maybe if they film it next time, like we film our own meetings, we just watch the video.
We can make that suggestion to them.
Yeah.
Their budget does have an impact on us, so that's why I'd like to know what the right numbers are.
We don't have that answer right now.
Right. Well, we don't.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Understand.
6-1-1. That's 6 yeses, 1 no, and 1 abstain. Mike was a no.
That's correct.
Anthony abstained. Okay. There's a vote for 3 board candidacies. There is a asterisk. There are 2 candidates that are from the Weavertuck district, and the school board can only choose either one from a district. So we have to vote between Dale Glover and Rick Keller Coffey. The other 2 candidates are Ed McCormick and Robert Rubin. Robert Rubin is from Wappingers, and Ed McCormick is from Arlington. So I need a motion to vote for either Dale or Rick Keller Coffey.
Move the vote go for Rick Keller Coffey and Edward McCormick and Robert Rubin.
Can we just do the Rick
What,
Keller
just to settle
Coffey?
between the 2
Yeah,
from Weavertuck? Okay, well I would move then Rick Keller Coffey.
Is there a second?
A second.
Is there comments or questions?
He's the only one that sent us a letter. So.
Yes.
All those in favor of voting for Rick Keller Coffee?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 8-0 for Rick Keller Coffee. Need a motion for Edward McCormick?
So moved.
What? Hold up.
I'm sorry, you said 8-0, you went real fast.
You didn't vote anyway.
I didn't get to vote. I didn't know what you were saying, so I kind of let it kind of pass it. So you said 8-0, it's not 8-0, it just means.
So you abstained on the vote?
Yeah, I didn't want to vote for him.
So
I wanted to vote for him.
So you're saying no?
No, you do vote for Ed. The only one you have to vote on
We're not-
is
we're
between.
not even on
the
Ed
first
McCormick
one.
yet.
Oh, okay.
You gotta pick for each. You
For
gotta
Reba
pick
Township.
3 out of
but we had to
4.
pick
Oh,
two.
there can only
We
be
had
one
to
in
pick
district.
one
That's
out
why
of the 2
there's
there.
One of the two for Reba Township.
Just explain yourself. Everybody learns and grows differently here.
I need a motion for Edward McCormick.
Motion for everyone.
Kenya? Is Kristen? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 8-0. I need a motion for Robert Rubin from Wappingers.
Motion for Robert Rubin.
Anthony, is there a second?
Second.
Kristen? Comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 8-0. Kelly, I might have done that a little funkier than was written on there, but I thought it was clean. The use of the consent agenda permits the Board of Education to make more effective use of its time by adopting a single motion and cover those relatively routine matters which are included. Any member of the board who wishes to discuss individually a particular piece of business on the consent agenda may so indicate, and the item will be considered and voted on separately, thus preserving the right of all board members to be heard on any issue. Any item from the consent agenda that a board member would like pulled?
12.06.
12.07.
Hearing other items, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda 12.02 through
12:10.
12.10 minus 12.06 and 12.07.
So moved.
Anthony, is there a second?
Second.
Meredith? Comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 8-0. I need a motion for 12.06.
Motion to approve 12.06, approved claim auditor's report.
Is there a second?
Second.
Meredith? Comments or questions?
I do have a question on page 1, check number 28297. It's computer systems integrators,
Yes.
27,044. So what is that for?
That is CSI, so we have 2 agreements with them. One is a consulting agreement. The other, we actually purchased some hardware through. In fact, Anthony D'Amato and I just had a meeting with them on Friday because Tim is not here anymore, so we're trying to get up to speed really quickly on that. I don't know the specifics of that invoice. I do know a lot. I'm learning a lot about firewalls and E-rate and all of that. So if you want, I can get more information. I just don't know. I know we have contracts with both. I know that there was a lot of equipment that were being purchased through them and also through BOCES. And that's pretty much what I know right now.
Okay. All right.
But that's a company we've been using for a long time.
Very good. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 8-0. I need a motion for 12.07.
I'll make that motion to approve the district treasurer's reports.
Second. Anthony, comments or questions?
Yes. When I looked at the list of budget transfers, I recalled that a year ago we adopted a policy that said if it's over 5,000, it requires board approval, and we routinely approve these things without regard to what the numbers were for any of these budget transfers. So the same policy we adopted also said that after the superintendent can make these transfers and then report them to the board at the next meeting, which is what usually happens. So the question is, are we following the policy or not? So I would like to just bounce that back to the leadership to think about that, to review the policy and the practices, and
So you're
and
basically
observe
getting,
what we should do.
you're getting all of the budget transfers. So yes, the policy is over $5,000. The board needs to approve it. And you are approving it on this report. You're approving it after the fact.
Yeah.
If we waited to send it to a board meeting, then we would pretty much shut down, especially this time of year, going back and forth, trying to pay bills and trying to move the money around. So I know the policy says the board approves it, and we are doing that, but we're doing it after the fact.
Is there any way to try to do it before the fact?
If we do that, then we will have the chance of not being able to pay bills, or maybe not even to make payroll. We are not allowed to go over budget code. So if there's a transfer that has to be made, we cannot hit the expenditure account unless there's money in it, and it has to have a transfer.
But I mean, we do know, have estimate on burn rates of how fast the funds go down in certain accounts. I mean, wasn't there any way to forecast that a budget was going to be short that needed a transfer?
In a perfect world, yes.
Okay.
But there are circumstances that come up that we need to transfer money into a different account just to do the day-to-day operations. So I understand what you're saying. You know, we would know that on a forecast basis. But there are things that come up. You know, there's people's responsibilities change, their budget codes change on their payroll account. Because I'm looking at this, I'm seeing some payroll accounts going back and forth. And they're being transferred between one teacher line to another teacher line. It's not significant. It's more of a reclassification. The one thing that I would hate is that we hit budget codes that are not correct just because there's money in them. And then that would be very difficult to budget the following year, because you really need a true accounting of what is spent in each budget code. So that's a little bit scary on this end to do the budgeting part. We always want to make sure that things are accounted for in the proper code and not just put into a code that has money in it.
So none of the transfers are of a different category. They're the same category but different code.
For the most part, again, I'd have to look at every single budget line, but you do get all of them. So because you're seeing some budget transfers on there that are below the policy. So our treasurer does run the report and gives the whole thing to the board. So if there were specific questions, you could question it before. We can give you the answers before the board meeting.
Has this practice been brought up to the outside auditors?
The outside auditors don't have a problem with it. That when they come in, they're coming at the end of May, I can mention it to them again.
And they know our policy?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
In the last report, did they earmark any of that?
No, it did not come up in the report.
Any other comments or questions?
Just in some cases, we probably should take a look at those and understand what they are. It may indicate that we're not anticipating properly. In some cases, I don't know. In most cases, it's just the run-of-the-mill routine things that don't work out the way you thought, and you need to make the transfers. In other cases, it might mean that we need to take a closer look at these categories when we're doing the budgeting to make sure that we're covered. Just a thought.
I also hate having policies and we're not following them.
Yeah, but she said that she was.
So should we amend 6115?
So you're saying that we're not following it, but we're saying that we are following it because the board is approving it after the fact. I think it's the strong language. Anthony said that you're not following it, and that's why I asked about the auditors as well, because they review our board policy and make sure our practices are in line with what our policies are, as well as what's appropriate through the auditing process.
I just thought I heard Emery say that it's impossible to get board approval before the transfer, so we're not following the policy.
The policy said that the board needs to approve.
Yes.
I'm not clear whether it says it needs to approve it before it is done. We can check that.
Yeah, I don't think it does.
I don't think so, because I challenged that. I wanted that last time. I wanted that policy. And I believe it does not, but we'd have to check.
Here's an example of why.
Again, my comment is really just the policy should reflect how we do it, not reflect.
So did you look up the policy?
Yeah, I can read it right now if you want. The transfer of funds between and within functional unit appropriations of the general fund is commonly required during the school year. The The superintendent of schools, in accordance with the regulations of the Commissioner of Education, is authorized to make budget transfers between the line item accounts, so long as the transfer from one item does not exceed $5,000, period. All transfers in excess of $5,000 require Board of Education approval, period. The superintendent will report any transfers to the board as an information item at the next board meeting.
So we are following the policy.
Yeah, I like the challenge. That's awesome. That's good. It's good that we're asking the question and challenging, and we found that we're following the policy, so that's good.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 8-0. I need a motion to adjourn to executive session to review employee appointment history of a particular individual, and the board is not expected to take action after the executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Kristen, comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 8-0.